Good morning, Belton High School. I'm Tanner Strive.
I'm Savannah Truitt.
And you're watching Cutlass TV News.
And it goes a little something like
Due to traffic changes coming on campus on Monday, Phil Clark fills us in on what we need to know.
Belton High School will be seeing many changes over the next year. Students and staff will experience major traffic changes. Mr. Clark fully explains how this new format will work.
The fences go up on March 12th, which is this next Monday. So the traffic flow will certainly be impacted in the afternoon, and we'll probably feel a little bit in the morning. So what we'll do on Friday after this showing, we'll actually have some information from the teachers to show to the students because it'll be impacting us on Monday. We anticipate sending a message out on Sunday evening just to remind everybody in an attempt to get out in front of it. I think one of the things that needs to be communicated out front is, like I said, the fences will go in, and clearly when you put fences in, it's designed to create a perimeter, and so the construction will happen inside that perimeter, the staging will happen inside that perimeter. So something that everybody will need to know is that becomes off limits. That we're really turning over to the construction company. So any entry into the areas that are fenced would candidly be considered criminal trespass. So we want to make sure that we honor that. Secondly, in terms of just accessing the school in the morning, there's really three different time frames that we're most concerned about. One is what happens as students arrive, and students will need to enter a campus to the student lot or the lot down at Southwick via the northwest roundabout. That's over by the gas station. So that's going to be very limiting. And right now we'll just simply say we're so thankful because we're going to have to do this together, continued patience, and we'll work with students and community to make the very best of this. There will be some challenges, but again, we know that people will rise to the occasion. So in the morning you'll access from that northwest corner. Throughout the day you'll access through that northwest corner. And I will tell you the most significant change is what's happening with the buses. And the reason that's significant is because the south lot, where historically our buses have lined up and we've tried to protect that space, that actually becomes primarily the responsibility of the construction company. Although the fence won't go clear across and block that off, truly that is restricted traffic flow to them. In the morning, you'll want to access through the northwest lot, but keep this in mind, students, that our buses, when they arrive, they'll actually be entering through that same intersection and then dropping kids off at the front of the building. So there will be a window of time, and I'm going to guess somewhere between 7:25, maybe 7:27, and 7:40, where accessing this space, there's going to be a conflict between when the buses arrive from the middle school and when students and or parents are arriving. Parents will also be able to drop off students on the baseball side or the east side of the building, and we're going to ask that they go northbound and drop off the students. There will be access points on the east side of the building in the morning. We did create an exit to the west side of the building, which is through the 300 hall, but that has been reserved as an emergency exit only because just to the north of that walkway, they'll be putting up the gymnasium. And so for safety reasons, all students will need to enter through the front doors when they arrive to the student parking lot. So there's some extra steps, and again, we thank students for that participation. Now, in the afternoon, when it's time to leave, once again, the buses will roll in through the front and will pick up all students in the front of the building. We may not have come up with the perfect plan, but we're attempting to do this in an organized, efficient way that helps you get here, get you out of here when it's time to go, and keeps everybody safe. And at the same time, honors our responsibility responsibility to those that are working with construction, because they share this space with us, and we certainly look forward to its completion, but we also look forward to the journey over the next 18 months. And we're thankful that we've got BHS students and staff and community that have been so supportive. We'll work through this together.
With Isaac Peterson, I'm Michael Landreth with Cutlass TV News.
The BHS powerlifting team goes to nationals in 2 weeks. Here's more on the competition by Chloe Murphy, Robert Thomas, Tanner Strife, and Destiny Corals.
The powerlifting team is making gains and efforts to win in 2 weeks at nationals.
I started powerlifting sophomore year, second semester, and I started lifting first semester when I got like weights as a cross country. So that's pretty cool. And from there, I've kind of grown a lot as a lifter. I've been able to become really well. Last year I won nationals, and I've also received like a few scholarship offers this year to go lift in schools. So what really got me interested in powerlifting was a few weeks into first semester sophomore year, Sheriff was recruiting kids for Baser to go and lift at the meet. He asked me, I couldn't that weekend because I had debate, so I didn't go. Next week, Coach Sheriff comes up to me and is like, hey look, if you would have lifted, you would have won your meet, your weight class. And that kind of just like was in my head like, really? Me? Because I'd never been rated anything before. I'd not really been like fantastic or known for anything before. I was just kind of a goofy kid that like played football, done cross country, and just kind of like floated. So yeah, that's kind of what got me interested and really started my drive for it. Powerlifting has basically become like the thing I think most about. Getting my lifts up, whether it be like learning more technique, learning what kind of like programming or practice I could be doing to help my lift, or just the like activity itself is very enjoyable for me. So it's just a big part of my life now. It's kind of replaced with like all sports kind of used to be. Don't play video games anymore because I'm so focused on powerlifting and stuff like that. So it's been a really, really fun process.
I have been competitively lifting for 3 years, but I started going to off-season in like 7th grade. I just kind of did weights like for sports, and as I started getting like better, it was like becoming more and more fun. And then Coach Harrell just introduced me to the meets and stuff. I think like the major thing that it's taught me is like it's okay to fail, and you have to fail to succeed. And I think a lot of people that do powerlifting or even just weights will tell you that. And it can apply to anything, like not just sports, like it can apply to school and your job, whatever.
Hit! 1, hit! 2, hit! 3, hit!
I've been at Belton for 20 years. So at that time, there was not a powerlifting team. We had a previous head football coach that was Coach Gorley, that had taken some kids to a couple different powerlifting meets, but it's not something they ever really focused on. So whenever I took over as a head strength coach about 9 years ago, that's one of the things. Not so much because I love powerlifting, but more that I love the motivation it gives kids, because they want to qualify for meets. We don't just take anybody that wants to go. We have certain set qualifying numbers. So by them trying to reach those qualifying numbers, they're busting their butt in here every day in the weight room. And that's what we want to see, because ultimately we want it to drive the athletic success for all of our sports.
With Chloe Murphy, Jesse Larson, and Destiny Corals, I'm Robert Thomas for Cutlass TV News.
Here's a preview to this year's spring sports season by Andrew Clark and Avery Hobson.
Practice for this year's 2018 spring sports season has begun. Sophomore Addison Yinger and junior Bailey Strickland share their goals for the soccer team and the track team.
My goals for this soccer season are to make first team all-conference. My team expectations for this year are to hopefully win more games than we did last year and work more as a team. I like playing soccer because you have a whole team and you get to work with everybody, and you just a lot of physical activity.
My personal goals would be like
obviously I want a PR, but I also want to be like build myself as a leader, like my representation for the team. Just growing obviously growing as a team and like becoming closer and like just I don't know. Why do I like track? I like running because it makes me forget everything about just like that's going on. It's like my like freedom type thing. Like I just get to be me for a little bit.
Don't forget to come out later and support your spring sports teams. For Mason Goffey, Robert Thomas, and Avery Hobson, I'm Andrew Clark for Cutlass TV News.
The Belton dance team recently placed 5th at state. Here's more on the story by Chloe Murphy, Destiny Quarles, Robert Thomas, and Tanner Strife.
The Belton dance team recently went to state and placed 4th in Palm, 2nd in Lyrical, and 5th overall. With the season ending, Madison Daniels shares her plans after this school year.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be continuing dance after high school. I am going to Missouri State, and I'm not like positive on what I'm going to major in, but I will probably major in something like education. So. I would say my proudest moment would probably be this year at state. We had a girl get an injury, so the day before we had to change like both of our dances, and we ended up still placing high, so I was pretty proud about it. I'd say my favorite memory would just be hanging out with the girls because they became my best friends, and every year we went to the City Museum, which is really fun in St. Louis, so yeah.
Jada Tucker shares what her most proud moment of the dance season is.
My proudest moment from this season is going to state and having some complications with one of our team members. We had to redo our dances because she got injured like 2 days before we competed. So we had to really work hard and fix it and get it done so that we were ready and prepared to compete. I've been dancing for 7 years. We did really good at state. We got 2nd place for our jazz dance, and we got 4th for our pom dance, and then overall we got 5th. My hopes for next year are to work really hard and just work together as a team and bond and make a lot of memories and just have fun.
Awesome. With Chloe Murphy, Destiny Quarles, Robert Thomas, I'm Tanner Strife with Cutlass TV News.
Thanks for watching Belton High School.
Remember to tune in next week.
And as always,
Carpe diem.